Well, welcome to the second of 8 videos looking at the human resource frame. And during this particular video, we're going to look at the underlying assumptions of the human resource frame. We're going to look at this kind of comparison between the nature camp and the nurture camp in terms of human performance. We're going to an analysis. And we'll dig into two particular theories, the first of which will look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And then we'll look at McGregor's theory X, theory Y. So I think with that kind of brief overview of what we're going to be looking at during this particular video, let's dig into those underlying assumptions. So there are 3 underlying assumptions. The first of which is that organizations exist to serve human needs, rather than the kind of matrix approach where humans serve the organizational needs. The second is that people and organizations need each other, that organizations are not going to survive. They're not going to have the ideas and energy and talent they need without people. And people need careers and salaries and opportunities. So there is a synergistic interaction between people and organizations, or at least there can be. And then the third assumption is that fit is important. That if the fit between the individual and the system is poor, one or both of these are going to suffer. And then when the fit's good, it benefits everyone. So the individuals are finding great work, the organization gets the talent and energy and ideas they need to survive. All right, so that's a coverage of the 3 underlying assumptions of the human resource frame. We're now going to move into this kind of look at human needs, and it's a little bit, misleading to say that there are 2 camps. It's really a range of approaches between nature and nurture. To what extent are we born with genetic tendencies that lead to certain behaviors, and to what extent does the environment influence our performance, our view of the world, how we do everything. And there's a great table over there to the left that kind of looks at different approaches associated, ranging from the biological approach all the way down at the chemistry level up to behavioralism and humanism. And the majority of scholars right now are seeing human behavior as the interplay between the two, that each have effect. And it's just a question, different individuals, one or the other may be more heavily weighted, but that both have a play in what we're doing. So what we're going to do is start with one of the more famous kind of theories associated with this, and it's over there in the humanism camp, and that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And Maslow posited that we have a hierarchy of needs, that we start off with certain needs at the bottom that have to be met before we can move forward towards other needs. And only once the lower needs are met can you start to move up to the social needs and the ego needs. And here's a slightly more colorful diagram that looks at this, and then it gives you some characteristics starting, at those lower needs. So, if you're in a situation where you can't breathe, that will eventually become the dominant need. You will stop everything you're doing so that you can breathe. And the same is true for the other components there. If you don't sleep for a very long period of time, there'll come a period of time where you must sleep. The second one's at the safety level. And you can see employment and the health of yourself and your property, moving up to love and belonging, esteem, and then self-actualization. And so you're not going to be dealing with issues of morality, or in most cases, or of self-esteem when you have not eaten for a long time. And there are all sorts of movies about this. If you're into gross movies, you can go watch Saw, and the kind of trade-off that you have here. But there are lots of movies that kind of explore this hierarchy of needs. All right, we're going to transition now and talk a little bit about McGregor's Theory X and Theory Y. And so McGregor was looking at human behavior and came up with kind of these two competing lines of thought, one of which is Theory X. And it makes the assumptions that subordinates are passive and lazy, have little ambition, and prefer to be led and resist change. So if you think about this, then you can have a hard managerial response, okay? Or you can have a soft managerial response in terms of trying to move organizations forward. And what the book suggests is that either approaches become self-fulfilling. So if you have a hard managerial response where you're using these relatively harsh techniques, then those techniques will become the norm. It will become part of the culture of that's how we get things done around here. The same is true for the soft managerial response, that if you avoid conflict and don't deal with issues, eventually those issues are going to pile up. And while everyone will be quote-unquote happy, they'll actually be walking around on eggshells because they're trying to avoid conflict and not deal with the issues that really need to be dealt with. Theory Y is on the other side, and that is, at the core of management is to arrange conditions so that they can achieve their goals best by directing efforts towards organizational rewards. And there's a nice little chart over here where you've got Theory X and Theory Y compared using the characteristics of attitude, direction, responsibility, motivation, and creativity. Good little read there, and it kind of shows two completely different ways of looking at, again, human resources within a organization and defining how you're going to approach treating people. So different tools are used if you view the world from the lens of Theory Y than Theory X. All right, well, guess what? Short video, but that covers the underlying assumptions associated with the human resources frame. It covered Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and then we looked at McGregor's Theory X and Theory Y. Look forward to joining you in the next video, where we'll start getting into some coping strategies associated with Theory X, looking at employment contracts, and then starting to get into some human resource strategies.